I'm going to explain to you the best ways to get bloody tokens so that you can get a quick set of 366 item level gear that also has a really good set bonus. So in order to do this, you need bloody tokens. Also, this gear is 408 when you're in the arenas and battlegrounds, so if that matters at all to you. So you need bloody tokens. And in order to get those, well, there's a few different ways to do it. I'm going to explain to you the ways to farm that, the best ways to get them, fastest ways to get them. Now, first off, in order to get these, you have to have war mode on. So if you go to your talents, it's in by default. It's somewhere in these menus down here too. I think specializations and talents, yeah, right here. And you go to the talents tab. There's war mode. Now, in order to turn this on, you'll have to go to your main city. For the Horde, or at least for me, it was Ogremar. If your alliance, I guess Stormwind then, you have to actually enter that particular city, then click this button, turn it on, then you're good to go. And you can turn it off wherever you want, but you can only turn it on in a main city. Once it's on, PvP is forced on at all times, except inside Valdrakken or whatever. And then you can get bloody tokens. So from that point, you'll be able to get bloody tokens whenever you kill an enemy player, which will give you 1 bloody token, which is not going to be the fastest farm, considering that you need 200 all the way to like 700 bloody tokens per piece of gear. Probably going to need like 2,000 total or something like that, maybe a little more. But there's actually other ways to get them that are much faster. One way you can do right out of the gate is there are airdrops that will happen in any zone, and then people will fight over them. I don't have any to show you right now. I'll show you a clip where the person talks about it. But basically, it's all, if you've ever played Star Fox 64, a person pops up at the bottom to tell you something and says, I guess you could all use a little resources and somehow survival of the fittest. If you ever see that message when you have war mode on, that means you need to open your map immediately, and you'll be able to see an icon of like a circle with wings, and it's coming in, and then it'll stop moving. And then that's what will drop. Once it drops, the icon disappears. So you need to pay attention, start heading that way, and pay attention to where it stopped so you find it once you get there. Because, again, the icon disappears once it drops. Now, for my testing, it seemed like these happen in all the zones at the exact same time, or it was just the biggest coincidence ever, because I was playing with a friend, and he was over here in Thaldraszus, and I was in the Azure Span, and we both got drops at the exact same time in both our zones. And these seem to happen, I don't know, around once an hour or so. And something important to know is if you are in Valdrakken, just the main city, hanging out, then it will not give you the message. You cannot get this message while in the main city, so you have to be out adventuring or you'll have no idea when it happens. Now, there's also another way to get bloody tokens, which I'll talk about in a second, but really quick, a strategy with this, if you have friends to play with, is to get in a party or a raid group or something like that, and have each person doing something in each zone, and then, or at least in 2 zones, maybe 3. And then what happens is, as soon as they drop whatever you're doing, immediately fly over and start flying around to try to figure out, are they all Horde or all Alliance here? Because people will fight over them. Only the Horde can get them or only the Alliance can get them. Whoever opens it first, it locks it to that faction. And if you have people, like 2 different people in 2 different zones, you have enough time, especially when your dragon's leveled up, that you can actually fly around and see and be like, oh my god, there's like 40 Alliance people here. And if the guy in the other zone's like, oh, mine has only Horde people here, we're all good, you'll actually have time, if you have an upgraded dragon, to fly all the way from like Tier Hold all the way down to Azure Archives before it drops and disappears. Because it'll actually drop out of the sky for a solid like 1.5 to 2 minutes, and then it'll also sit on the ground for like another minute or 2, I think like 90 seconds or something like that. I never timed it. So you will have time. So you can definitely do that to min-max it too if you really want to like min-max it all. If not, you know, you get them at your own pace. But be aware, those drop 200 bloody tokens on your first drop every day. And then after that, they'll drop 50 every single time afterwards. But that's not the only way to get bloody tokens in Dragonflight. There actually is another thing that you can do. So there are PvP missions that can pop up. And there's some confusion about this. So first off, you can't be in Valdrakken. If you're in Valdrakken, you can't see them. So you have to leave it, and then you can go and look at the maps. And you'll be able to see an icon that I can't show you because of the other prerequisite, which is you have to complete the main story, or else these quests do not appear. And again, you also have to have war mode on. You have to have war mode on to get bloody tokens with anything. But if you completed the main story and you have war mode on, you can every day, once a day, there'll be war mode quests. And there'll be like 2 swords crossing each other in a circle, like icon somewhere. And it'll have you like kill a random, elite enemy, or, kill some frogs or ducks or something, some random thing. And they're like basically dailies that give, I think it was 50 bloody tokens each. And again, in order to get those to pop up, you have to complete the main story. You have to have war mode on, and you can't be hanging out inside of Valdrakken in order to see them. And as far as I'm aware, those are the only ways that you can get bloody tokens. I don't think there are any other ways. Not that I know of, at least. Not that I've been researching. Couldn't find anyone else finding any other ways or anything. And you'll need, roughly 2,000-3,000 to get everything that you need. But I also got some tips for that, because you can actually mix and match gear. It'd be smart to, actually. So let me show you where the vendor location is, and then I got some tips for you on how to spend these things in order to get like the most bang for your buck. Okay, so to help you understand where this is, I am in WoW Dragon right now, like the main town square, basically. There's the auction house, there's the flight master. It's like the center of town, basically. So from the center of town, you're going to head over here to the northwest, and you go down these stairs, and it'll be this first building on your right. And here's like the PvP quarter. Now, there's someone you can buy gear with, got gear using honor, and there's a guy right over here at the entrance. So right where I came in, you turn right, there's this guy, Fieldmaster Embereth, and he'll let you exchange your bloody tokens for gear. Now, when you buy this gear, there's some important things to consider. I actually got a lot of things for you to consider here. First off, if you just want the set bonus, then you could just go for the cheapest stuff. If you just want like the 4 set bonus, for example, you get waist, wrist, back, that's only 600, and then shoulder, and then you got a 4 set, or hands or feet or whatever. Actually, scratch that. I forgot the cloak doesn't give the set bonus, but it'd be like waist, wrist, and then 2 of the 350 pieces, like this, the gloves and the shoulder or whatever. If you just wanted to really quick get a 4 set bonus. If you want the 5 set bonus, obviously you're gonna have to get all the pieces of armor. It just depends. Are you a class that does damage, or are you a healer? Because if you're a healer, you don't necessarily need the killing enemy players, grants the killing spree effectively. So if you're a healer, there's a lot more options. But also, even as PvP or not PvP, a DPS class or a tank, you say you do want the full 8, but then you could actually, with the cloak and with the weapons, you could, if you want, instead get the ones with honor, which are not going to be as strong at first, but it'd actually be a little bit easier to force the farm by just doing battlegrounds, because these use honor to get these. And also, this is where you can get the trinkets, which you can't get trinkets with bloody tokens. You can't get rings with bloody tokens. You need the trinkets, and you can get the rings here. But you could get the weapon here. But the thing to consider with doing that is, what does it give? So, like, I can give an example specifically for my case, and then you'll have to think about how this matters for you. So for me, as a healer, haste and versatility are pretty much the only things that I need. I don't need the other stats. They don't really do anything for me. They do, but they don't. I mean, taking less damage and casting faster is really all I need in most cases. So I would look at this and be like, okay, what stats does the honor staff give that I need? Or I go run all the way back over, and then I look at this staff, and does it give stats that I need? Because you might run into cases where one of these... I find the staff, because this one, in my case, they both give haste and versatility, but it's not always that case. You might look at one, and one might give, say, mastery and critical strike, and the other one gives haste and critical strike, or mastery, so you find the combo that you want. So definitely take your time and look through this before you do that. Now, you also might wonder, well, the honor gear is not as strong as the bloody token gear. Well, that's actually not true. You can go over to this item upgrade guy, and you can put in your honor-based gear, and then you can upgrade it again and again and again. You basically have to buy it 5 times in a row. And then you can get it leveled up to level 5, which is then going to be the same item level as the bloody token gear. So keep that in mind when you're picking your bloody tokens. You don't have to get a crazy amount of bloody tokens depending on which way you want to build it. So yeah, hopefully that tip will help you out. So that way you don't have to try to farm up like, 3,000 bloody tokens to get geared up. But that's pretty much everything that you need to know about bloody tokens. How to farm them, how to get them, everything like that. Hopefully this video helped you out. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. So now you know how to get and where to get and how to spend bloody tokens in World of Warcraft Dragonflight.